All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're unlocking a fundamental part of Arabic, the 14 detached pronouns. Honestly, if you want to build sentences, you've got to master these first. Now, you might be looking at this and thinking it seems a little complex, but trust me, by the end of this short explainer, you'll know exactly how to build this sentence and a whole lot more. Okay, let's get into it. So here's our game plan. We're going to start with the absolute basics. Then we'll tackle those big technical terms to make them way less scary. After that, we'll meet all 14 pronouns, and then, the best part, we'll put them to work building sentences right away. Okay, first things first, we have to start with the foundation. In Arabic, a pronoun is called a Zamair. But what does that actually mean? Think of a Zamair as a simple shortcut. It's just like in English, right? You say he, so you don't have to keep repeating the boy, the boy, the boy. They are the essential building blocks for making any conversation sound natural, and Arabic is no different. Now for what looks like a really intimidating phrase, Zamair Munfasilah Marfu'ah. I know, it sounds like a mouthful, but don't worry, we're going to break it down piece by piece. It's actually super logical once you see it. So that first word, Munfasilah, what does it mean? It's simple, really. It just means detached or separate. These pronouns are their own words. They stand alone. They're not stuck onto the beginning or end of another word. And the second part, marfu'ah, tells us what these pronouns do in a sentence. It means they're in the nominative case, which is just a fancy way of saying they are the subject. They're the main topic, the star of the show. So, munfasilah marfu'ah literally just means detached subject pronouns. See? Not so scary after all.
Okay, so now that we've decoded the terminology, let's get to the main event, the full set of pronouns you need to know.
Now, you might be thinking in English we have, what, a handful of these? Well, Arabic grammar is incredibly precise. It gives us this beautiful, complete set of 14. Whoa, okay, here they are. Now, don't get overwhelmed. This table is actually your best friend. Look at how it's organized. We've got the third person, or khayeb, that's your he, she, and they. And notice how it's broken down by gender and number. You've got singular, you've got dual, yep, for exactly 2 people, and plural for 3 or more. It's incredibly detailed. So just to break that down again, you've got the third person and the second person, and both have 6 distinct forms to cover all the combinations of singular, dual, plural, masculine, and feminine. The first person, that's I and we, is a bit simpler, with just 2 forms. This incredible precision is one of the beautiful things about Arabic grammar. All right, enough with the charts and theory. Let's actually use these things. We're going to build what's called a Jumla Ismiya. It's a nominal sentence, which basically means it's a sentence that starts with a pronoun, just like we've been learning. But wait, before we build anything, you need to know the absolute golden rule. And I mean the rule. The predicate, the khabar, that's the part that gives information about our subject. It has to match the subject pronoun, the mubtada, in 2 things, gender and number. Always. No exceptions. Got it? Good. Okay, here we go. Our first sentence, Huwa talibun. The pronoun huwa is our subject, our mubtada. It means he. Now look at the second word, talibun, which means a student. Remember the rule? Huwa is singular and masculine. So what does talibun have to be? You guessed it, singular and masculine. It's a perfect match. That's a solid, correct Arabic sentence right there. So what happens if we change the subject? Let's switch to the feminine haya for she. Well, the rule kicks in. The khabar has to change too. It becomes talibatun, the feminine version. Hiya talibatun. You see? This agreement is what makes the whole system work. It's the engine of the sentence. Okay, so we can build simple sentences. That's awesome. But conversations are usually richer than that, right? So let's level up and see how we can add more detail and description. And we've got 2 main ways to do this. First, you can use a descriptive compound. That's where you use an adjective to describe a noun, kind of packaging them as one single idea. The other tool is the conjunctive compound, which is basically just linking 2 different ideas together with and. And here it is, the answer to that question from the very beginning. Huwa waladun salihun. So, huwa is our subject, of course, but the khabar, it's that whole phrase, waladun salihun, a righteous boy. That's a descriptive compound. See how the adjective, salihun, comes after the noun, waladun, and matches it perfectly? That's how it works. Now let's check out a conjunctive compound. Huwa talibatun wa salihatun. What we're doing here is listing two separate things about Hiya. She is a student and she is righteous. And of course, look closely. Both talibatun and salihatun are feminine because they have to agree with our subject Hiya.
Whew, okay. We have covered a ton of ground in a really short time. So let's just pause and boil it down. What are the absolute must-know takeaways from all this?
Okay, 3 things. Number 1, those 14 pronouns are standalone words and they are the subject of your sentence. Number 2, the golden rule of agreement. The predicate, the khabar, has to match in gender and number. That is everything. And number 3, you can build more complex, interesting sentences using descriptive and conjunctive compounds. If you can lock in these 3 ideas, you have an incredibly powerful foundation.
So there you have it. You now have the essential building blocks to start forming your own sentences in Arabic. The door is officially open. The only question left is, what are you going to say first? Thanks for joining me for this explainer.